Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news.
Now it's time for your weekly Wilder update.
What's this idiot done now?
If you take a look at the boxing community at large and where their opinions lie, as far as what have been the failed attempts, the failed negotiations between Team Anthony Joshua and Team Deontay Wilder, if you look at what the popular opinion is, at least right now, it seems that most people find that it's Deontay Wilder and his team's fault that the fight hasn't happened yet. That where maybe, I don't know, maybe it was more contentious in the boxing community before, whereas now most people agree that it is Deontay Wilder and his team's fault for the fight not having come off and perhaps not coming off anytime this year, and who knows what the following year holds. I mean, how long can these guys, or how long will they, I should say, continue to stall? You know, I took a poll right here on YouTube, right here on Ring IQ Boxing Talk via YouTube. I took a poll, and it's an ongoing poll, so you're free to vote, you know, whatever you think happened. I took a poll as far as who do people hold responsible for the fight not happening, and over 92% out of 278 votes and counting, but out of 278 votes so far, 92% of people, I believe it is, 92 or 93% of people blame Deontay Wilder. I also took an identical poll on Ring IQ Boxing Talk via Facebook, it being that the Facebook group consists of that many more members. You know, the Facebook group consists of about 49,000 members, so that's that many more votes, that many more opinions to draw from, and that poll, like the YouTube poll, is an ongoing poll. But so far, Deontay Wilder
is to blame,
is in the lead by a wide margin. I mean, this is a landslide that the vast majority of people voting so far are blaming him for the fight not coming off. A very small nominal percentile blame Anthony Joshua, and even a more nominal percentile blame your mother. You know, and it's not her fault. They really need to leave her out of this. You know. Now I know that if there are any Deontay Wilder fans listening to this video, they might be thinking to themselves, well, that poll don't mean shit. Of course, the majority of people that frequent your channel are going to blame Wilder for it because you blame Wilder for it. And they might say something very similar about the Facebook group, even though the Facebook group consists of about 49,000 fucking people. I can't affect all their minds, you know. I can't vote for them. They're voting based on what they feel. But regardless, I can imagine that a Deontay Wilder fan might be listening to that and thinking to himself, oh, those polls don't fucking mean shit. Of course you guys blame him for it, but I'll have you know that another poll was conducted, and it wasn't even conducted by me. It was conducted by Michael Benson via Twitter. He posed a question to his 24,000 followers that follow him on Twitter, and the question was, who do you feel is most to blame for the fact that Anthony Joshua versus Deontay Wilder hasn't happened so far? Now, only 1% voted that nobody was at fault. 9% voted that it's Anthony Joshua's side that is at fault. And 26% voted that both are as bad as each other, whereas the vast majority, out of 6,427 votes, the vast majority, 64% of people that voted that it's Deontay Wilder's side that is at fault. And this characterizes today's talking point on what is our weekly Wilder update, for lack of a better word, that it's getting harder for him and his team to mask what's going on here. It's getting harder for him and his team to circumvent the blame, to mask the truth as far as why hasn't this fight happened and why isn't it about to happen. It's getting harder for him and his team, and it's getting harder for his street team that, you know, is here on YouTube. Those guys that try to come up with every cockamamie explanation as to why Wilder shouldn't take the fucking fight, even though they've been making this guy offers since April of 2018 until this year, until right now, here at this moment, where he turned down $100 million to do what and fight who. It's getting harder for them to hide that, you know what? It's not Joshua's fault. They did all they could do. You know, this guy, he's being very unreasonable, very unrealistic, and it's getting harder and harder to disguise that, especially when you have Deontay Wilder himself. Not Shelly Finkel, not JD's, not one of his idiot fans on YouTube. It's getting harder to mask what's going on here when you have Deontay Wilder, the man himself, saying shit like this.
Now, let me ask you this one. If they came after the Brazil fight, after you're successful against Brazil, and they say, hey, go 50-50, we're going to give you everything you want, is that something that would get the fight done for you this year?
I don't know. We got things, like I said, we got things in order, in line. You know what I mean? I mean, it's all it's all based on a lot of different things that's going on. I can't really discuss a lot of things that's going on. That's just what the party is. You just have to wait. You have to wait and see, because they're in the desperate. I feel they're in the desperate time right now.
So basically, according to Wilder, even if they offered him 50%, which is what the fuck he was asking for, not that I think he deserves it, not that you think he deserves it, not that Anthony Joshua is about to do it, but even if they did, according to Deontay Wilder, oh, he doesn't know. We're in a different time right now. They've got other plans. That right then and there lets you know that this man does not prioritize the undisputed heavyweight championship as something important, as a pressing matter, as something that he needs to do, something for his legacy. That puts it on full display, full transparency, that this guy don't want that fight, and what he's been doing is using the hype, the energy, the demand for that fight to raise his profile without having any intention of having the fight. I mean, think about it. As a heavyweight champion in today's heavyweight division, what other fucking plans? Who the fuck else do you plan on fighting that's a bigger fight than that fight?
Seriously.
Bigger in terms of scale, size, money-wise, profile-wise, everything. What the fuck else could you have lined up that's bigger than that fight? Not a goddamn thing. That's the biggest bang for your buck fight in the whole weight class. Anything other than that fight is small scale.
Small potatoes.
And we've already heard the names aforementioned. You know, we heard the guys that Deontay Wilder plans on keeping busy with. So we're not going to get into the same old shit. The point is that it's getting that much harder for Deontay Wilder and his team and his dumbass fans and all the smoke screens that they try to put up. It's getting harder for this guy to avoid the blame, because it's becoming more and more apparent that, look, if there was anybody, if there was anything or anybody that was stifling this fight, it was Wilder and his team. And they're the ones that don't want that fight. And I'll tell you, all the creativity in the world, all the creative explanations that Wilder, his team, even his dumbass fans, all the creativity in the world isn't going to help this situation any further, because it's painfully obvious to the casual observer who's been trying to make the fight because they want the fight, and who's been trying to do everything they can to circumvent it. Who's been sending offers, who's been rejecting offers, who got offered $100 million fucking dollars, and who shot it down. And to do what, though? Seriously, to do what? It's painfully obvious to the casual observer what's going on here, that while Anthony Joshua says, in order to prove that you're the best, you have to come see me, Deontay Wilder, according to Deontay Wilder, not nobody else, not me, not you, not his fans, not his representatives, according to the man himself.
If they came after the Brazil fight, after you're successful against Brazil, and they say, hey, go 50-50, we're going to give you everything you want, is that something that would get the fight done for you this year?
I don't know. We got things, like I said, we got things in order, in line.
So there you have it. You understand? It's not a debate. It's not up for debate. We are not debating what he said, because we have the audio. Okay, we got the quotes, we got the video, we got the audio. We know what's going on. You can't hide it any further. And what could happen is, while these guys might think that by stalling, that will allow Deontay Wilder the time he needs to further raise his profile, what they might find is, the more apparent it becomes to the boxing community at large, the ones that frequent boxing more or less like me and you do, and some of the ones that don't, some of the ones that are just casual observers, they only really watch boxing for big fights. What's going to become more transparent to everybody is that it's Wilder who's stifling the fight, and that may have an adverse effect on his attempts to raise his profile. That, yeah, you might become known in a lot of circles. You might become just as known as you want to be, but it'll be for the wrong reasons. You may become one of the most hated guys in the division, because people are going to look at you as a ducker, a bullshitter, a con artist. You said one name, one face, one champion, and all you're doing is shooting one offer after the other offer after the other offer down. That's all you're doing. That all that shit was just a ruse. That you never cared. You never actually cared about being an undisputed champion, or even a unified champion, because you've been around for 11 years. You never unified anything in 11 years. This guy comes along after you, and he unifies titles in less time than it took you to win your first. I mean, how long did it take Anthony Joshua to unify those titles? You know, I mean, it didn't take 7 fucking years, I'll tell you that. And as these tidbits, these factoids, these matters of fact, as these become more and more aware to the boxing community at large that is following the story and waiting for this fight, as this becomes more and more apparent, what could happen as time progresses is that Deontay Wilder will become vilified. You know, it will lead to infamy. You know, not just fame, but infamy, which is a poor substitute for recognition. Like, yeah, a lot of people know you, but they know you because they don't fucking like you. So yeah, a lot of people know you, but they don't fucking like you for it. Anthony Joshua said something that was very interesting. He said that
If these guys keep waiting,
he said that the longer that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder wait, the tougher Anthony Joshua will become to be. He talked about how, you know, after the Klitschko fight, he reflected on his performance, that he's gotten away with mistakes, and he began to wonder how long would he be able to get away with those mistakes, and making adjustments to his training methods to further improve upon what he had already built 2 years ago. That it's not about quantity so much quality, and that the longer that Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder wait to make that fight, the harder it will be for them. And that's an interesting tidbit because that's true of any fighter that is improving. That's true of any fighter that is actively looking, fight by fight, to hone and perfect his craft. That you might have seen in Anthony Joshua 2 years ago that got floored by a seasoned veteran. But what lies before you right now, 2 years later, 2 years apart from that, is a different fighter, an improved fighter, a fighter that looks back on those mistakes made in that fight to correct them in any fights he may have ahead of him now. And that the longer Wilder, who's shown no improvement, I mean, let's just be honest about it, okay? Let's just cut the crap. Deontay Wilder is the same fighter now that he was 2 years ago, and likely that he was 2 years before that, because technique and skill is not Deontay Wilder's strong
He
suit.
admitted
Now,
that.
Tyson Fury is a different story. That is a craftsman, okay? That is a more mental, more tactical, more strategic fighter than Deontay Wilder. So it's a different ball game, and it's a different conversation when it's strategist versus strategist. But for Wilder, who really hasn't shown very much improvement, I mean, let's be honest, he's still relying on the big right hand. Anybody who doesn't want to see that is likely one of his sycophants, one of his retard fanboys. You know, those guys, they live in a different world. They live in a bubble.
It was not a UK pay-per-view. It was a world pay-per-view. World. It was a world pay-per-view. And it was the second, if they didn't steal nothing, if 1 million people didn't steal it in the UK and 2 million people didn't steal it in the US, I'm only talking about the 1 million from the UK and the 2 million from the US. I'm giving you 7 million. I'm giving you a buffer of 7 million. If you're looking at just the 1 million UK people and the 2 million US people, then Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury becomes the second highest selling fight in history. The second highest, and it actually did more pay-per-views. It sold more than Mike Tyson versus. It's the number one selling heavyweight fight in history, just off the 1 million people and the 2 million people alone. That's when I'm speaking on facts in boxing. Y'all don't want to speak to me. Oh no, well, Deontay Wilder, he's got skinny legs. As if that has anything to do with the numbers that I'm showing you, the facts that I'm showing you. Has anything to do with it. The facts that I'm showing you has anything to do with it. It has absolutely nothing to do with any of that stuff. I'm giving you numbers. I am showing you the numbers that don't lie. They don't lie.
And he's right. The numbers don't lie. They don't lie. They don't lie. I'm going to say it again. They don't lie. And you know what those numbers show? I mean, does he not realize what Musso is and what those numbers reflect? All those numbers reflect are the millions of people that did not buy Tyson Fury versus Deontay Wilder's pay-per-view. That's all it shows. I mean, when I tell you that these guys live in a bubble, you might think I'm exaggerating for comedic value, and I'm not. This guy is so far removed from reality that he will go as far as counting pirate streams towards Wilder versus Fury's buy rate.
free streams.
These are streams that nobody paid one red motherfucking cent for. These are free streams, illegal streams, pirate streams. But these guys are so fucking desperate to make Wilder out to be something that he's not, that he's actually counting pirate streams towards the buy rate, as if that somehow makes Wilder a big marquee attraction, when all that shows is a lot of motherfucking people don't want to pay to see you. They'll see you, they just won't pay for it. And the inference you can make based on the LDBC's resident Chihuahua and his spiel is that he's trying to use illegal pirate streams
Say Wilder's a star.
to add value to Wilder versus Fury, which is absolutely ridiculous because nobody bought those pirates. I mean, like, do I really have to say that? Those streams didn't generate any money for anyone, so how would they add value to the fight? Nobody paid for them shits. They were free.
They were stolen.
I mean, you hear it, you can hear the audio. He's basically saying that if the 2 million people that stole it in America and the 1 million people that stole it in the UK would have bought it, that would have made Wilder versus Fury the highest grossing heavyweight fight of all time. Except there's one fundamental problem. Those people didn't pay for it. The 2 million in America didn't buy it, and the 1 million in the UK didn't buy it. So it's not the highest grossing heavyweight fight in the history. Like, what? Like, oh, if the 2 million bought it, if the 1 million bought it, if my aunt had a dick, she'd be my uncle. Like, seriously? And this is how desperate they've become. This is how desperate they're becoming to pull a veil over the boxing community's eyes and try to present Wilder to me and you as something that he is not, because he is not a marquee fighter, he is not a pay-per-view attraction, and his next fight isn't even on pay-per-view. Those are the facts. That is reality. That is not an opinion. It seems that Wilder can't carry a pay-per-view off his own name because, I mean, you see they had to get Tyson Fury involved, and you see that they had to give him 50%, and now that he's out of the picture, Wilder's back on regular Showtime. So is he really a pay-per-view attraction? I mean, how desperate do you have to be to count pirate streams towards the buy rate of a pay-per-view? If we did that with all the different pay-per-views that are out there,
They'd all be $200 million fights. They'd all be record-breaking fights. I mean, if we were going to use illegal streams towards the buy rate, emphasis on buy rate, you understand? If we were going to do some asinine shit like that, then yeah, they'd all be major fucking pay-per-views, every single one of them. But why would you do that? Why would you use streams that didn't generate any money for anyone to call a fighter a marquee fighter? Marquee value is determined by the money that you generate. The money that you generate at the gate, the money that your pay-per-view generates, that's what determines whether or not you're a marquee fighter. But illegal streams generate no money. So how the fuck would that count towards somebody's marquee value? Like, you know, and this is the desperation that I'm talking about. That Wilder is making it so difficult for his fans, given the sound bites, the quotes, the videos. He's making it so hard for his fans to present him as something that he is not, that these guys are making the cockamamie-est of cockamamie arguments. Hey, I got an idea. Let's use the illegal streams to call Wilder a marquee fighter, even though illegal streams don't generate any marquee value. And hopefully our subscribers will be so stupid, it'll go over their heads that those illegal streams didn't generate any money, no matter how many illegal streams of them there were. The bottom line is that it's getting harder and harder for Wilder, his team, and his fans to disguise what's going on here. That if that fight ain't happened yet, it's your fault. And you have delusions of grandeur. You think that you are something that you are not. And what you're trying to do is buy your time until you can become that. But as a result, it's you that's avoiding the fight. It's you that's making everybody wait for it. It's not the other guys. They're not sabotaging the fight. You are. Because you're trying to raise your marquee value so that you can become what you pretend you are.